Sophie, tell us about your story, because Durham University is apparently training students to be sex workers, certainly the student union anyway. Tell us about this story. This is extraordinary.
Oh, okay. So it basically all started when I went through my emails to look at the NUS delegates, and I scrolled down and it said Durham sex work training. So I then posted it on my Twitter saying universities shouldn't be pushing sex work, and then lo and behold, the Times have got it. Everyone's got it.
My goodness, I mean that's it. A lot of people will be pretty shocked that a student union at a very prestigious university, Durham University, one of the top universities in the country, are offering training in how to be a sex worker, essentially. What are they actually offering, and why are they offering it?
To be fair, they're offering like a variety of talks on different aspects of sex work, whether that be navigating the industry, the regulation that surrounds sex work. And they claim that they're doing it to, support those who are already in sex work. But in my opinion, if you wanted to support those students that are involved in the industry, the first thing you would do is tell them exactly how on earth they should get themselves out of it.
I think a lot of people would agree with you, Sophie, because sex work is something that that people should not be doing, really. It's something that is not a desirable career, I would imagine. Tell me, Sophie, I mean, is there any evidence that there are students at Durham who are sex workers?
I know that there is a national statistic of the numbers of people that are in sex work. I think it was around like 5% or 6%, something like that. I don't know the numbers for Durham, but I think by providing this to be a viable opportunity, and Durham have said in their statement about, this is a valid career considering the financial constraints that university students are under, but I think it's taken advantage of students who are in a vulnerable position financially, because obviously it's the first time we've been away from home, we've got a lot of costs, it's expensive. It's taken advantage of their vulnerabilities and their financial insecurities to push them into a career that's incredibly dangerous, exploitative and backwards.
Sophie, this is fascinating, because the student union is actually saying this is a viable career. This is something that people should perhaps think about.
Yes, so our student union, I think it was the welfare officer or welfare liberation officer, did a thread on Twitter yesterday that basically said, sex work is a valid career considering, the financial implications of uni, this, that and the other. So therefore, we should provide these, the support and the training to get into this industry. But I think that they should obviously be offering, support of how to encourage people to leave the sex industry. There's a difference between destigmatisation and glorification, and we're definitely on the glorification side with this one.
It's interesting as well that this is people, you think they go to university, they want to aim for presumably quite high paying jobs, they want to be in a position which is perhaps seen as a sort of professional career necessarily. I mean, this will just strike people as extraordinary. Is this Durham University Students' Union being woke about this, trying to not condemn anybody, trying to not say any life choice is a bad thing?
Yeah, it's all about, in society we've now started to try and destigmatise things that are rightly stigmatised, like drugs, sex work, stuff like that, because it seemed to be progressive. But I think the only way that is progressive about dealing with the industry that is sex work, that is incredibly, exploitative of women mainly, obviously I know there's male sex workers, but it's mainly women, is to encourage people to leave the industry rather than go into it.
Are there any students that you know of, that you're friends with or have encountered, who are in sex work? I mean, presumably it's not something that people talk about openly.
There was a couple of posts yesterday on one of our Facebook groups that we use at Durham, of journalists asking people that are in the sex industry to come forward, and I think a few people did come forward with that, so there must be out there, but I personally don't know any. I wouldn't think there's many at all.
Why do you think people do it, or see it as viable, see it as something they want to do? Is it just financial pressure?
No, they obviously they believe that women controlling, selling their bodies is somehow now empowering. We've seen it with the reaction to OnlyFans, and obviously what I'm talking about, sex work here, is going to be I don't even know why we call it sex work. Let's just call it what it is: prostitution. they see it as empowering selling your body, but there's nothing empowering about selling your body, nor encouraging a woman that they should sell their body, because women, we are much more than our bodies, we're our minds. And it's very weird that a university where some of the strongest minds are in the country, because Durham is one of the best unis in the country, is pushing this sort of agenda. But it's seen as woke and it's seen as inclusive, and you know what students' unions are like across the country. I think they try and out-woke each other, to be honest with you.
I'm afraid I do. Sophie, you sound like someone who perhaps has different political opinions to a lot of your peers. Is that something you deal with quite a lot?
Yeah, so me and Kevin actually do a segment on the show in the week called University Watch with Kevin O'Sullivan on Talk, and we basically just trash everything all of the woke students' union are doing. And I've been screamed at loads of times. I'm always the students' union hate me gladly, thank God.
Well, listen. If you're doing something which upsets people, first of all, that's what journalism is all about. You know, if people think if the authorities think you're doing a fantastic job and think you're wonderful, well, that's not what you want. So, good for you. University is about disruption. It's about finding your voice and knowing what you think. And you're clearly someone who does know what you think. So, Sophie, thank you so much for your time this morning on Talk Radio. Sophie Corcoran there, Durham University student. I mean, that is just an extraordinary story. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. Should we be encouraging students to sell their body to make their way through university? My goodness. Text me 87222 with the word talk, or tweet me at Talk Radio. Yes, Michael has been in touch to say, I know an independent sex worker, the financial reward is huge. It is like an addiction, and she enjoys her work. So there we are. Thanks for your thoughts there, Michael. Do stay with us on Talk Radio. Lots more to discuss in the next half hour.